Welcome to the U World Order Showcase podcast, where we feature life, health, and transformational coaches being the change they seek in the world. If you'd like to be featured on our podcast to share what you're contributing to making the world a better place for us all, please go to www.jointheuworldorder.com. Be sure to like and follow our podcast for the latest episodes. Hi, and welcome to the U World Order Showcase podcast. I'm your host, Jill Hart, and with us today is Francine Juhlin, creator of the Confidence Club for Kids, host of the podcast called Parents Talk, and her mission is to help grow strong and confident kids today so we don't have to fix broken adults later. Thank you so much for joining me, Francine.
Thank you for having me.
So, how did you get started in all of this? You have a 30-year career as an electrician in the Navy, and now you're helping us fix the next generation. There's got to be a story in there somewhere.
Oh, yes, there is. I was an aircraft electrician first in the Navy, and then I worked for government contractors, and I joined the Army National Guard, where I ended up in Iraq. And I was also a civil servant as an aircraft electrician. When it came time to retire, my whole identity was as an aircraft electrician. I had no idea who I was and what I wanted to be. I got a few degrees in college, and I still really didn't know what to do with them. And because of that, and because of things I learned as a child, I was all confused to the point that the stress was making me sick and my liver was shutting down. I was more than 100 pounds overweight, and I needed to make changes in my life, and I just had no clue what to do. I know that's a long journey before I started helping kids, but at the very beginning of that process, I had to figure out how to change myself. And I hired a business coach, and I hired an holistic health coach. Mm-hmm. And what do you think was the advice they both gave me?
Fix yourself first.
Yes, but how?
I'm going to say meditation.
Yes, they both told me to meditate. And I was thinking, how could I do that with all that stuff running through my head? Well, I didn't understand at that point. That's what meditation is stopping all that stuff running through your head. But I still, oh, go ahead.
I'm going to interrupt you. It's not so much stopping it as not having thoughts about it. Yeah. Because we always have things going on in our heads. But then when we start ruminating on it and having opinions about our thoughts, that's when the troubles really start adding up. And meditation, it allows us to examine the thoughts and let them go and not get attached to them. It's the attachment entanglement that's like.
And do you know where all that attachment comes from? That's from the programming we get when we're children. So I told you that I was unhealthy. That is from my aunts when I was a child. You'd be such a pretty girl if you just lose some weight. That stuck with me for 50 years. And I will tell you, I had an eating disorder. I wasn't bulimic. I would overeat till I got fat, and then I would unhealthy diet. And then I would overeat till I got fat again, and then I would unhealthy diet. Throughout my life, I thought if I could just lose 20 pounds, I'd be happy. Well, guess what? I lost 100 pounds and I still wasn't happy because I kept all those other thoughts, all the thoughts that made me fat in the first place, all the thoughts that made me want to eat to cover up my feelings, that was what was keeping me in this cycle. So my big mantra right now is break the cycle. And I've talked to so many people, and you could see in some of my episodes of Parents Talk, some of the people I've talked to. One, her mother used to make fun of her about her acne to the point where she was 60 years old when she finally started loving herself. Let's break that cycle. And the thoughts will be there. But the key is, instead of listening to those thoughts, talk back. Tell them no. I like to call it boom, bad opinions of myself. Just say, boom, go away. Because the thought that if I lose 20 pounds, I'd be happy wasn't helping me lose weight. And it definitely wasn't helping me get healthy. It
Or
was,
be happy.
or be happy. So when this holistic health coach and this business coach both told me to meditate, I said, here's two totally different entities telling me the same thing. And I started investigating, I started reading, I started listening to YouTube. And that's when I realized that meditation isn't just, oh, there are so many different ways. One of my favorite ways is to walk out in the sunshine barefoot and just stare at the sun with my feet planted on the grass. And I could feel the energy flow through me and my feet tingle. And if I do get a thought, it's almost always a good thought now. And when it's a bad thought, boom, go away.
I haven't been meditating that long either. But when I learned about meditation, I learned about it from a friend of mine who was having some mental health problems, and she was seeing a psychiatrist who told her to meditate. And she shared with me there's different platforms you can go on that can teach you how to meditate. And in the beginning, if you can just hold still for 3 minutes with all of that going on and just focus on breathing, 3 minutes feels like forever in the beginning. But if you could just do it consistently, you'll find that, an hour can go by and you're like, what? Wait, I was busy. We're
But
supposed to be busy.
the greatest things happen when I meditate, like this weird character behind me here, Sparkle Feathers. I
Mhm.
met him in a meditation. This children's book about meditation was downloaded to me while I was meditating. So now think about it. If anybody here is listening to this and you don't think meditation's for you, you don't think you could meditate, what if you grew up thinking that was the norm? What if instead of all the negative programming you received, your programming was, if you're not happy today, just sit down and meditate. If you feel uncomfortable for any reason, sit down and meditate. And that's where the book starts. Princess Francie, who is my inner child, is sitting there worried that she has a scar on her face and it's time to go back to school. And she's afraid all the kids are going to make fun of her. And she is just sitting there so worried and upset. And then this butterfly, that butterfly rainbow floats by and says, come on, I'm going to introduce you to your new friend. And then some magic happens and Princess Francie grows a tail and she meets Sparkle Feathers. And that's when Sparkle Feathers teaches Francie how to be comfortable in her own skin. And that's all done through meditation.
I love it. I love it. And this is a children's book that you have published already, correct?
Correct. It's out on Amazon right now.
And people can find it there. And I know you have a kids club that people can join. How does that work?
The Confidence Club for Kids takes the book series one step further. It's
Mhm.
an interactive container in my website where kids could get off the social media, off the videos of pure entertainment, and they could learn, they could interact, and they could have fun in an environment that's conducive to happy, healthy thoughts. There's 20 science videos uploaded, and I'm going to be doing science experiments and asking the kids to send pictures of what they've done. And there's a newsletter that will be coming out where I'll talk about some of the things the kids are doing within the club. There's going to be, I can't wait for this one. It's so exciting. My friend has been documenting the caterpillars growing into the cocoons, growing into the butterflies. And her son is going to do the video about this. So it's going to
Oh, that's
be
fun.
kids showing other kids how cool it is to do science, how cool it is to meditate. There's a whole chapter on meditations. I started out with one very short 5 minute how to meditate and a very, very simple meditation for the kids. And we're going to progress from there. And I'm going to do guided meditations for the kids.
I've found personally that having learned how to meditate, it helps me sleep better. Do you want to address how that affects kids once they learn to meditate?
Well, parents, how would you like to send your kids to the magic library where they rest peacefully, and they rest peacefully and they clean up all those files in their head? The magic forest creatures help Sparkle Feathers clean up Francie's messy bedroom, which is her head before meditation. Once your kids read this book, you could start saying, wouldn't you like to go to the magic forest and clean up your meditation zone?
I love that. And it really is, naps are, kids need naps often. I think adults need naps a lot of times too, but meditation is just a good way to take a break and and slow down. We get so busy and so involved in things, and we're always got, do, and we really need to teach our children how to just be a little bit instead of the constant chasing after stuff, which is a lot of what we're teaching them to do these
Yes.
days.
And the more unhappy I became with myself, the more I tried to achieve. I was in every club in school and I worked so hard at absolutely everything, thinking I needed to be the best. And I don't know if I was trying to win over my parents' love, which I know now I had, but I thought, who could love me like this? But I think really what I was trying to do was win over my own self love. If I could that 20 pounds or that one more achievement or a B isn't good enough, I need an A. That even followed me to college where I wasn't happy with getting A's. I needed perfect scores to the point where it was driving me crazy. The always trying to overachieve. And I hear parents now telling their kids that B's aren't good enough. You need to bring your grades up, or I was in band. You only got a second place in contest. You need to practice more.
Reminds me of a story my husband tells. My husband is the most easygoing guy I've ever met. But he loves baseball, and he was playing baseball when he was a kid, and his dad lived with us for like 18 years. I know his father very well. Um, but he hit a home run in this game, or got several hits in this game, but he struck out once, though he had other at bats and he did really well at bat. And his dad comes along and goes something to the tune of, well, why didn't you get all hits rather than just appreciating the fact that he got some hits and he did the best he could? Because, like, it's so easy to criticize the small flaw and miss all of the amazing, wonderful, positive things as children. And as a child, the thing that sticks with you is just that one little criticism that's so cavalierly shot out there by adults in their periphery who may have just been having a bad day.
Or just wanting the best for you, not realizing that it's not what they say, but how they're saying it.
Mhm. It just the impact that that can have on you over years, because they're just little kids. We still are operating on a system that was installed when we were really little, and we didn't have the information we have today. Parents will always be parents. They're usually just kids themselves.
Mhm.
And I can say that from this perspective in my life. It's like, yeah, you guys are so young.
Oh, and that's why when I was going through my own journey, I was angry at my parent, even though I knew my mom was doing it for all the right reasons. The
Mhm.
taking me to Weight Watchers when I was 8 years old was telling me that there was something wrong with me. Going to kids' birthday parties and getting Weight Watchers ice cream, which wasn't good back in the 70s, or carrots and celery while all the other kids are eating all this good stuff. Going to Girl Scouts and everyone has cupcakes and I have carrots and celery. It it was for the right reason. But then I thought about it. She was 26, 27 years old. She was doing the best she could with the information she had.
Yeah, and there just really wasn't that much information in those days either. And they came from a different paradigm. It was a paradigm of, it was imperative for women to get married. Their idea in life was that, if you don't marry well, you're going to have a crappy life. And it wasn't really, it was like 65, I think, when the Civil Rights Act was enacted, where women actually got the ability to be able to make their own decisions. And then there was the whole slew of divorce that happened, which had cataclysmic effects on everybody because of that. But really, women today, young women today that are raising kids, they don't I don't think they realize the shift that happened for their parents and their parents' parents to get to the place where they're at now, where, if you want to get married, get married. That's fine. You don't have to. I don't even care if you have kids and you don't get married. I, you know, do something with your life, be who you were designed to be, and contribute what you were designed to contribute. sorry,
Well,
I get off on this tangent with kids and how we got to this place where they're like, we put so much pressure on them for things that
right.
just
Well, back in the late 70s, when I was finishing high school,
Mhm.
go to college, go to college, go to college. Women could go to college now, go to college. Well, my parents were divorced, and my dad said, "What does a girl need to go to college for?" Well, I tried it on my own, trying to work full time and go to college, and it was difficult. And that's how I ended up in the Navy, which was the best thing that I could have ever done because I found a career I loved. I got the education, I got a trade, I got to see the world, I got to open my eyes to new ideas and new ways of life. And I think as the military was the greatest experience in the whole world for me. I'm not telling everybody to just go and enlist because it's not for everybody. But for me, it was the greatest thing in the whole world.
I have one daughter, she's my oldest. She enlisted in the army, and it was the best thing she could ever have done with her life. It
Mm,
has impacted her life in ways that she couldn't even begin to imagine.
yeah. And what I love about my time in the military
Mhm,
is I laid the groundwork for today's women,
mhm,
for being in a field, a non-traditional female role. Because when I joined, you want to be a secretary? No. You want to go in the supply corps? No. Well, you can do this or that. No. I wanted something different. And when I set out to make my way, the guys didn't want me there because
mhm.
you're taking all our good duty, is what they were thinking. But they didn't realize I had talents and I had things that they couldn't bring to the table. For instance, in Iraq, I turned 40 in Iraq,
Mhm.
and I was what was known as the morale booster because I would go to the chow hall and collect all the pieces and components and the cheese log that my dad sent me and the Petridge Farm sausage, and I made a Christmas party for everybody. So, yes, I was a girl, and I was also in charge, and I was also the one training the boys. But then I also had that nurturing aspect that was missing before women joined the military.
Yeah, I can see that. I was raised in the military. My dad was a supply officer. Talking about that. Um, so I'm very familiar with that, and I'm familiar with the way the military used to be versus the way, because women joined and because women really do contribute a lot in a lot of different areas, um, they've changed the way women are treated overall in the military, which is
Yes.
a huge thing. And it all comes back to starting with your kids and getting your kids to accept certain things as normal, and telling kids things that aren't true about themselves without giving them the tools to be able to manage that information. It keeps them from getting those thoughts stored in their long-term memory as though they are truths.
Right, because what gets our brains are going to immediately go to the negative, to the scary, because we are wired for survival. So our brains are constantly in the process of looking for danger. So your brain is designed to look for negative, but that's what gets you more negative. We have to
Yes.
train our brains to look for the positive, and then we start seeing more positive in everything.
Yeah. And no matter as a parent how hard you try, there will always be something.
Oh, not only
Just
parents, I mean, even I'm not a parent. I failed at fertility. But even for myself, there is always something trying to steal my thunder from myself. Not that somebody or an outside entity is trying to steal my thunder. I'm trying to steal my own thunder. And sometimes I just have to sit back and say, I'm safe. I have everything I need. This is going to be okay. It was
you didn't
funny.
fail at fertility. I'm going to correct you on that one. You are where you're supposed to be. You're
Yes.
doing what you're supposed to do. And you know, I have two sisters. I'm the only one who had children, but I had children for them too. Your
Well,
sister had kids for you. Just help her with those.
it, I it took more than 50 years, or well, since I was 36 years old.
Mhm.
It took me that long to recognize that if I had kids, I wouldn't be talking to you today. If I
Oh,
had kids, I would not have reenlisted in the Army after the Navy. If I had kids, my life would be completely different than it is today, because I was supposed to be here talking to you today about sparkle feathers.
yes, you were.
Yes,
And the decisions we make to create the life that we live, and we're all here with a purpose. And,
yes.
embrace that, no matter who you are, what age you are.
And now I can look at the whole world as my children, because I'm trying to break that cycle and help parents raise their children to be strong and confident. And if I had my own children, I wouldn't have the ability to do that.
That's a true statement, I believe. So, how do people get in touch with you, Francine, if they want to work with you or they want to see what it is that you do with kids? And
My website is personalchangewarriors.com, and you could contact me through there.
Mhm.
But I would also love if you would follow me on Facebook with constant updates and funny stories and the readings from my book. And then also my YouTube channel, Francine Juhlin on YouTube, where you could find Parents Talk.
That's great. And that's where your podcast,
That's where
Parents
the
Talk, is
podcast is.
hosted.
Yeah.
Okay. That's perfect. And you also have an offer for people, a 6-step process for personal change. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. When I was going through this whole metamorphosis, I took everything that I learned as a change management specialist for industry in the corporate world, and I applied it to personal change and developed the 6-step process for personal change. And it starts with quieting your mind, finding the root cause of what makes you uncomfortable. For me, if I could just lose 20 pounds, I'd feel better. But I had to get down to the root cause of why I thought I needed to lose 20 pounds. I needed to get down to the root cause of why I was unhealthy in the first place. And then once you find that root cause, you could find ways to change it. And then there's other ways to support yourself as you change and then try to work at maintaining that change. It all starts with meditation.
I couldn't agree more.
And
So this is,
you could get your free introduction on my website.
yeah, and we'll be sure to put those in the show notes, the link in the show notes, so people can get access to that. And this has been an amazing conversation. I really appreciate you joining me. What's the one thing that you hope the audience takes away from our conversation today?
The one thing is, no matter where you are today, that's your starting point. Don't worry about what happened in the past. It's the past. All you have is today, and you will have tomorrow. You don't even have tomorrow yet. All you have is today. If your life feels out of control, center your thoughts on what's happening right now.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me on your show.
Thank you for joining us for the U World Order Showcase podcast. Remember, if you would like to be featured on this podcast as a life, health, or transformational coach, please visit www.jointheuworldorder.com. We look forward to talking to you next time as we present another life, health, or transformational coach being the change they seek in